What's going on, everybody? In today's video, we're going to be breaking down the newest addition to the Final Destination franchise, Final Destination Bloodlines. For all the horror fans out there, this came as a surprise since this movie's been in development for years, and it wasn't until a few months ago that we actually got the first trailers for it. And dude, this actually got me a little hyped, not gonna lie. Now, for those who have been fortunate enough to skip past these kind of movies, in a nutshell, the Final Destination franchise took the world by storm in the early 2000s. The movies all normally begin with a huge death sequence with a different main character in each movie. And if you've ever been scared that your plane is going to blow up while you're on it, or wonder why you get nervous behind a log truck, you've probably seen one of these movies. In each one of the movies, the main character has a premonition of the event and either don't get on the plane, don't go on the road, or avoid the event that they're having the vision about altogether. This in turn keeps them and a few other survivors from dying in the event. But because they cheated death, Death's all like, well, we can't have that happen. So Death circles back to get each of the survivors in the order that they were supposed to die in the event. It's an interesting concept with a lot of creative death scenes that was a highlight of these movies. The movie really plays into the anxieties that people have about intrinsic thoughts about, what if I step in the middle of the road and something falls off a building and gets me, and brings them to life in these movies. You would see one of the survivors in their house and wind would blow and you would see a pipe leaking water and an outlet would randomly start to spark. It's like those movies with the extra long contraptions to turn a doorknob or make lemonade or something. You see how Death is putting it together and just want to see how the person is going to go out. And the cast is just trying to learn the order and how to stop it, but in the end...
Death doesn't like to be cheated.
Excuse me?
Pretty cool concept. But other than that, you could tell that these movies have that early 2000s cheese to them, and the goofy ways that people die is just something that you can't make up. Like the teacher in the first one, I can tell they probably hated the actress too, the way they did her. Now we're going to be diving into a full spoiler review, and I'm going to be explaining the full plot as well as my positives and negatives about the movie. Because believe me, this movie was not perfect in the slightest. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, this is your cue to pause, go watch it, and then come back to this video. For those still here, you've been warned. And before we get into the video, please, for me, like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit that bell for all upcoming reviews for shows and movies that you're thinking about seeing. So let's get our boarding passes for Flight 180 and jump back in to break down the plot for Final Destination Bloodlines. The movie kicks off in 1968 with Iris Campbell and her fiance Paul attending the grand opening of the Skyview restaurant tower. It's a classic setup for disaster, right? During a dance party, Iris has a terrifying premonition. A shard from a chandelier cracks the glass floor, a gas leak ignites, and the whole tower collapses in a fiery mess. Now, I will say, after rewatching all the Final Destination movies leading up to this one, this opening was probably the craziest intro into one of these movies. I don't know if it was the updated effects or just the visuals, but they definitely upped the ante with the Sky Tower opening. Log truck, you finally have some competition. She snaps out of it just in time to warn everyone, including Paul, and they escape. But of course, here's the twist. Because the disaster was prevented, Death's original plan was disrupted. And as we learned in the previous films, Death doesn't like to be cheated. Instead of giving up, it starts going after survivors, and this time even their descendants. We cut to the present and meet Stephanie Reyes, a college student haunted by vivid nightmares of Iris's premonition. The dreams are so disturbing that it makes her take a trip home to investigate. With help from her father Marty, brother Charlie, and some distant relatives, Stephanie uncovers her connection to Iris, who's her grandmother. She's been living alone in a survivalist cabin in the woods. When Stephanie finally meets Iris, she gets the full backstory. Iris's warning of all those years ago triggered a chain of events, deaths, that are now targeting their bloodline. Iris has been documenting the patterns and omens like the plane crash in the first movie and the car pileup in the second, and just as she tries to hand over the journal, she's immediately impaled through the mouth by a falling weather vane. You know, classic Final Destination. As the family gathers for Iris's funeral, things start to escalate really quickly. The Uncle Howard gets shredded by a lawnmower, Julia gets crushed by a trash compactor, and a fire nearly kills Eric, as you probably saw in the trailer with the nose ring, but his leather clothes ended up saving him. The survivors start to believe Stephanie, but with the help of JB, a mysterious figure who turns out to be Tony Todd, aka William Bloodworth from the original films. I don't know why they changed his name when we kind of already knew who the character was, but moving on. They learn two possible ways to beat death. You have to kill someone else or die and be revived. Of course, this being Final Destination, the plan to sacrifice somebody backfires horribly. Eric is crushed by an MRI machine that went berserk, and Bobby is impaled by a vending machine spring. Yes, you heard me right. a vending machine. Eventually, Stephanie and Charlie escape a cabin explosion, but not before their mother Darlene sacrifices herself to save them. In a tense scene, Stephanie drowns briefly, but Charlie revives her with CPR, seemingly breaking the chain. But it wouldn't be a Final Destination movie without a fake out happy ending scene. So a week later at Charlie's graduation, a train derails and logs come flying, killing both of them instantly. Just when they thought they'd beaten death, it circled back.
I saved a lot of lives that night. Lives that were never meant to be saved. But death doesn't like it when you mess with his plans.
So going into the positives of this movie, there were actually some things that stood out to me during the film. First off, the opening premonition that she has is one of the best in the franchise, hands down. The Skyview Tower disaster is suspenseful, brutal, and visually, it was beautiful. I could tell that the editors took their time with this one, even if they knew it was just going to end up with one of those unbelievable death sequences, like in all their movies. It's a high stakes setup that delivers the tension Final Destination fans go to these movies for. The log truck pileup and the roller coaster sequence has always taken the cake in my book, but this one was definitely a top contender for top 3, just because of the cinematics. The second positive that stood out to me was the movie gives the franchise a fresh mythology angle. Tying the deaths to Iris's decision and showing how they ripple through the generations added an emotional weight and raises the stakes that we never saw in the previous films. Before, the movies really only stuck to the initial 8 people that were saved in the event in the beginning, but now we're seeing that death can be kinda extra. You don't just get one person, you get the whole family. And of course, the kills are another highlight, as they should be. They're just as creative and shocking, and gruesomely fun, and of course that's what people want to go to these movies for. The gore. The lawnmower and vending machine deaths are standouts, equal parts horrifying and ridiculous, which is exactly what we signed up for. And let's not forget the return of Tony Todd. His presence connects the films to the original series and adds a layer of creepy continuity. Tony's performances in these films have always brought that heart to it because as a fan of his work, anytime he's on screen, he just steals the show. And you feel that creepy, mysterious tone that he sets in his acting. As for this being his last movie, he will definitely be remembered as one of the biggest pieces in these movies. And any future movies without him in it will certainly be felt. Rest in peace, Tony.
I'm sorry we broke in and...
No harm, no foul. I'll see you soon.
So on to the negatives, and boy, were there some things that were definitely not my cup of tea. The first one being, as usual, the film tries to juggle a large cast, and not all characters get enough development before they're offed. This is a regular issue in all the Final Destination movies, and it continues on here, which was kind of a letdown. Some deaths feel rushed, and a few setups lack the tension buildup we've come to expect. You can genuinely tell in the beginning if you're not the main character, you really don't have to care about any of the other ones because you know they're pretty much a goner. The deaths, while they're the best parts about these movies, even after all this time, some of them will just leave you with that seriously face and mentally check you out of the movie. These movies are not really known for their plot, really just for the kills, and when the kills let you down, it kind of has you wondering, why am I watching this movie? And also while the generational curse idea is a bit interesting, it does overcomplicate the lore a bit. Part of the fun in the earlier entries were summed up with one word: simplicity. Have a premonition, cheat death, and then try to survive. This one veers into the more philosophical territory, and for people getting introduced to the franchise for the first time, might not be a fan of it. Some will probably be invested in it, but for me personally, it was bold, but it didn't stick the landing because I wasn't invested into any of the characters besides the main one. If they go anywhere with this franchise in the future and show other versions of death going after generations, maybe, but for this one, I feel like it was a little late in the series to introduce that concept, even if it was trying to be new. And finally, the ending. While true to the franchise's bleak tone, it might frustrate some viewers because it's pretty much the same ending we get in most of the movies. And if you've seen those, you can pretty much guess what's going to happen at the end. You watch 90 minutes of the main character's crew try to escape death, most of the cast die, then the rest are killed at the end of the movie anyways. So what's the point of even trying to stop it? So to answer the question, is Final Destination Bloodlines worth a trip to the theater? If you're a fan of the franchise, it's a definite yes. It captures the spirit of the originals while updating the formula just enough to keep you interested. The kills are top tier, the visuals are strong, and the added lore gives fans something new to chew on. But if you're new to the series, it might feel a bit overwhelming, but you'll still enjoy the spectacle and creative ways death claims its victims. Final Destination Bloodlines isn't a perfect movie, but it's a bloody fun time that lives up to the franchise name. It's brutal, clever, and reminds us that death always gets the last laugh. So as far as a rating for the movie, I'd give it a generous, solid 5.5 out of 10. But overall with this breakdown, what'd you think of the synopsis? Were you surprised by who survived and didn't? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next review. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.